The good news is, fugue improvisation is learnable. The bad news though, it has to be practiced. In this video I'm gonna run you through a handful of digestible exercises that eventually shall lead into an off-sheet practice on fugue improvisation and invertible counterpoint, related to a specific fugue subject taken from George Frederick Händel. Although Händel was born in the same year as Bach and like him came from the Eastern German provinces, he pursued a completely different, distinctly cosmopolitan career path. After journeys that led him to Hamburg and Italy, he eventually stranded in London.
Fish, chips, cup of tea, bad food, worse weather, Mary fucking Poppins, London.
Apart from his job as operatic entrepreneur, one of his occupations was to teach the eldest daughter of George II in composition, and it is very likely that the exquisite collection of figure-based exercises we today refer to as the Händel Partimenti emerged from those lessons. The 4 final pages of these manuscript sheets are dedicated to the fugue genre and coded in a shorthand style that we today identify as Partimento fugues. One of them is this little fellow here, which is one of the most instructive, clean and pedagogically valuable Partimento fugues I've seen so far. Like any Partimento fugue that takes itself seriously, this fugue demonstrates double counterpoint in a straightforward and comprehensible way, while building on previously acquired Partimento knowledge. In other words, very different from those strange birds that you'd encounter when browsing through the so-called Langlois manuscript, which in my opinion is entirely undeservedly regarded as the most popular source for basso continuo fugues. If you want to take a glimpse of that mess yourself but don't want to waste $240, it circulates as PDF in the Partimento scene. It's a common truism that Partimento somehow eventually leads to improvisation, and the terms Partimento and Baroque improvisation are sometimes used almost synonymously, but it is very rarely shown how one methodically relates to the other. In any case, no one will learn to improvise merely by harmonizing bass lines. And that's why I'd like to show here some exercises that not only prepare for the realization of this particular Partimento, but also lay out the groundwork for fugue improvisations based on Händel's subject. A good Partimento fugue stands or falls with the subject. In this case, the initial motive is defined by a specific rhythm that you will always recognize throughout the whole piece and marks any of the subject's entries. It is followed by a sequential tail in eighth notes, and if you're not a total newbie, you'll not just recognize a familiar pattern behind it, but you may know already that this pattern implies invertible counterpoint. Although the subject may allow multiple counter melodies or harmonizations, there is one that can be named as the primary or implicit counterpoint, as it is the most evident in terms of compositional economy. Applying this melody provides an opening via descant cadence plus a smooth continuation in thirds and sixths on the sequential tail. However, the best thing is that this counterpoint can as well occur below the subject, and combining those melodies make already an instructive transpositional exercise that I recommend to start with. And now the version with flipped voices. In 3-part counterpoint, the most natural counterpart to the subject would be a chain of suspensions, which could initially be placed in the bass. When the subject is put to the bass, that chain of suspensions can potentially occur in 2 different versions, in the form of the 2-3 chain or the 7-6 chain, as you can see in the lower example. Let's start with the 2-3 chain, and after that I'm gonna flip upper voices. Then there's as well the possibility of the simple consonant cascade. Consonant because there is no dissonant chain and it just draws from 6 chords, and that makes as well a very handy and finger-friendly counterpoint. all shown harmonizations are actually sequences, and sequences can and should be used to modulate, I want to recommend the following compound exercises. So what you see now is just a proposal and actually can be done in a lot of ways, and I'm going to show you two different ones. This one connects a G major entry with an E minor entry of the subject, and I use the sequential tail as modulating device leading to E minor by throwing in the D sharp. A crucial aspect for me is that apart from the key change, the subject doesn't occur two times in the same voice, so the second time the subject shows up in the bass. And a similar exercise, but with some aspects modified. This time the succession of subject entries is flipped, first in the bass, then in the top voice. And the key relation is as well different, as now I'm targeting at A minor. For a final entry, you may want to have some more flamboyant harmonizations of the theme, so let me show you 3 additional, maybe rather more intricate things on the subject that can be approached via chromaticism. And another one slightly modified. Both of them share the chromatic line in the top voice. May seem a bit radical, but actually those are both derived from the simple version with the 6/5 chords, which provides a diatonic scaffolding that still can be chromaticized. If you compare them closely, you'll recognize that in the bottom version the tight diatonic notes of the top voices are being replaced by their lower chromatic neighbor. This setup can now be pumped up with another 4th voice, as in both examples shown. The aspect of invertibility goes as well for this chromatic option, so the chromatic descent can as well be put to the bass and the subject is sung by one of the top voices. Let's listen. I can't help it, but somehow this sound reminds me of Max Reger. By the way, a famous self-attribution by this guy has been passed down, saying that he allegedly claimed that he was able to shit fugues. Well, some of them surely sound like. Well, maybe let's just concentrate on the topic. And I think it's now time for an exposition scenario. The first one is basically the one that emerges from Händel's original Partimento and that follows a scenario that naturally is the most common in Partimento fugues, a succession of descending entries beginning with the highest voice. Why not showing a minor key exposition? Now I'm trying out another common 3-voice exposition type, where the middle voice begins, the top voice answers, and the bass concludes. So, exposition in G minor. Now imagine yourself as a skateboarder and you know you can land, let's say, 10 to 20 tricks that you practice beforehand. So you enter the pool and then start drawing a line from this trick repertoire, which is something like choreography. And that's actually pretty similar to the concept I was trying to build up here. Of course, often enough, things don't turn out as planned, and in many cases you simply just drop out. So I recorded 2 different attempts on tiny short but entire fugues, based on the materials I just showed you. Of course mixed up with some other things I already got in my hands to plug the holes in between the chunks. Let's listen. and I prepared another one in F major that's kind of similar but different.
Anything to declare?
Yeah, don't go to England.
Hey, not so fast. What about the Partimento? Let's say I hired a special guest for this occasion. I asked my YouTube fellow Leonard Schick if he would be so kind to provide a recording of the Partimento, but on the organ. 2 days later, I found a mail in my inbox with 2 extremely nice realizations of it. Leo explained to me that the realizations don't differ too much in the diminution structures and counterpoint, but give a completely different picture anyway, due to very different kinds of registration. As the first realization is limited to the use of the manual solely, the second one makes use of the full plano sound and the pedal, which turns this exercise into a surprisingly rich piece. And now the version that makes use of the full plano sound. Well done, Leo. I guess I owe you a beer. Well, actually, it's 2. Anyway, thanks for watching. Bye bye. See you next time.